I did some gigs in Leeds at the weekend, which were very funny. We were on a barn, and when I got there, the guy running it, Dean, who works for Get Comedy, who runs some amazing things. By the way, if you're local to Yorkshire, they're running more of them. It's gardengigs.co.uk. I just want to give them a big shout out because it was fucking brilliant. They were so much fun, and they managed to make a barn in the middle of nowhere feel like a comedy club. It was gorgeous. It looked great. It was fucking... The early show was really good, and the late show was phenomenal. The late show was fucking brilliant. But there was a kid there with his mum. There was a kid. The kid was 12. And Dean was like, just so you know, if you don't mind afterwards, could you get a photo with Max? And I was like, yeah, sure. He went, yeah, he's a really big fan of the podcast. And I was like, how old is he? 12. I was like, this is not for 12-year-olds. What kind of fucking parent would let their child listen to this? What kind of parent would let their 12-year-old child listen to this podcast and then bring them to see me live after it? And it turns out it was a woman who you did stand up for at her wedding.
It's Carrie Cheeseman. Do you know, I've gigged for a lot of people over the years, and I've met a lot of people at gigs. But if you have the surname Cheeseman, and I will never forget you. And it's literally part of the reason I played their wedding is because they were like, listen, we want you to do the Cheeseman wedding. And I was like, what? The wedding of the Cheesemans? I'll be there. And we did the hi-fi. We did the hi-fi. And they paid me like 200 quid to just come to the hi-fi like 2 hours earlier than I would have been anyway. They dragged their whole wedding to a comedy club. From wedding, instead of going like wedding to reception, they went wedding, comedy club, reception.
That
cool as fuck.
Is phenomenal. And I am going to do the same for my wedding. Whenever I find
big announcement.
One.
Yeah. Wow. I was only in North Wales for 5 days. Yeah, it was great. I ripped it for the first 2 rows. Like they were like, Hercules, Hercules. And then, there was one granddad. I assume he was like great uncle fucking Moody. Oh, he no like my comedy. Oh, it was amazing. Ripped it. Fucking family of hatred. And they were like, no, they loved it. I was like, no, Cheesemans. No, they did not. They fucking hated it. But it was fine because they wanted it so much and it made it worthwhile. But weddings are, if you're a new comic, tread carefully.
Well, interesting that comes up really because, again, at those Leeds gigs...
they brought their kid to the fucking gig.
It was just her and the kid. The dad wasn't there.
Stephen Cheeseman, no.
This is his... So at the same gigs, a couple come up to me afterwards and was like, we just want to ask, do you do private bookings? And if so, how much do you charge? And I went, the answer is not really. Now, we get the odd message about this from people who listen, like, oh, we'd love you to come and do this and whatever.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? Because I think, having had this conversation with these people, I think people don't really understand why comedians don't like doing it. So I want to talk about it for a sec, okay? So they were like, do you do them? And I was like, the answer's not really. I essentially charge so much for them that no one ever books me because I don't want to do them. So I charge so much money that even if it's dreadful, I won't care. And they were like, well, what do you mean? They said, because we've asked so many other comedians, and one the guy, I don't know their names. I do think they listen to the podcast though. He's like, we asked a couple of comics and we offered them, like $2.5 grand to come and do our wedding. And what? And they were like, oh, sorry, I'd want more than that. And I was like, well, I'm looking around the room that we've just watched you do stand up in, and there's no way you're making $2.5 grand from this. So why are you turning it down at me wedding? And I went, well, I would do the same, and here's why. It's because at a comedy club, right, you turn up, everyone in the room, or most of the people in the room, has paid to see comedy, and they're expecting comedy, and there's stage lights, there's a microphone plugged in, there's a sound system, everyone is sat facing the stage, everyone knows what's about to happen, and that makes a gig so much easier than if you go to a wedding. There's people there who don't really want to be there and just felt obliged to go because your family. There's people who absolutely want to be there but just want to watch you do your first dance and cut the cake. And there's old people who are like, this is not comedy. Comedy was different. You used to tell jokes and you couldn't say cunt, but you could say the P word.
That granddad at the
And it's so badly unplayable, and also your wedding is it's the best day of your life, or it should be for a lot of people. And as a comic, I'm like, there's no way I'm not gonna ruin this. Also, I do what I do. I'm not going to let anyone tell me, oh, come and do our wedding, please, but please don't talk about that or about that. If you book me, you're getting what you get. And I'm not necessarily the most family-friendly comedian on the planet. So I was like, look, I know if I come to your wedding, you two are going to love it. If you've seen me here and listened to my podcast and gone, we want Adam Rowe to play our wedding, you're going to love it. And maybe 10% of your friends and family are going to love it. But then there's going to be a few people who are ambivalent, and there's going to be a lot of people who weren't expecting comedy, didn't know it was on, don't like what I do, and are going to get quite upset because I'm going to say cunt in front of children. So because of that, you can look around this barn and go, right, there's 100 people in, and everyone's paid 15 quid. So at most, he's getting 1,500 quid. But that doesn't take into account the promotion.
I wish
the people running the gig.
Wouldn't it be good?
But the basic maths of it means there's a maximum of 1,500 quid in that budget. And I can't be possibly getting more than that. And I can understand you looking at that and going, right, let's say he's getting £1,000. Why wouldn't he do our wedding for 2.5? And I went to him, mate, I wouldn't do it for 5. And I really wouldn't. I would not do it. He absolutely would, of course he would. But you've got those gears that I haven't, and you will play the room more than I will.
Mate.
For 10 grand, I would think about it. And they were like, right. They went, every other comedian we've asked has just gone, oh, it'd be 7 grand. Oh, it'd be 5 grand. Oh, it'd be this, right? And we've never really understood why they're asking us for so much money. My market is 10. And it's not because I'm absolutely not in a position to turn down £2,000 for a gig. I'm not. I'm really not. Like, if you looked at my bank, you'd be like, you need to be taking £500 for a wedding. COVID has hit us all. Like, we're getting by, but fuck me, it's been depleted.
In the nuts.
I'm in no position to turn that down, really. But I can't live with the fact that if I do stand up at your wedding and it ruins your wedding because your auntie gets pissed off, or your nana gets pissed off, or granddad has a heart attack because he hears me say cunt in front of women, and he's like, no, you don't say that in front of ladies. I can't kill your granddad and then live with myself unless you give me money to make myself feel better about it.
If they said, look, we're wealthy, and we do private parties for our mates, we love, and then they listed Mickey Flanagan, Andrew Maxwell, James Acaster, Bill Burr. Will you come and do our private party at our big fucking house for 2.5 grand? You'd be like, what's the difference between that and a wedding? You're like, because I'd be ruining a party with your fucking Tory mates. That is different from a wedding. A wedding is a corporate gig, is essentially 2.5 grand to ruin someone's fucking works do. I don't give a fuck. You don't want to be it. I don't want to be it. We're all here for money. No one's like, oh my God, it's the awards do. We just love it because we're so passionate about graphic design. Fuck off. You're there for the money, but weddings are high risk.
I would do your funeral for less money than I would do your wedding.
Mate, for 2.5 grand, I'd play a fucking Taliban training camp. I'd be like, salam alaikum, my friends. Who's drinking?
My corporate rates are very, very, very low. Like, my agent sends some stuff through and they're like, we think we can get you some more money from this. I'm like, don't fucking highball them. Let's just take that, and I'm very happy. But it's just weddings. Weddings, to me, are just the biggest no-no in the world. So I've always priced myself out of it because I absolutely know that what I do is in no way worth £10,000 to anybody. But if anyone's ever fucking stupid enough to go, not a problem, mate, I'm a millionaire, then I will happily ruin your wedding and put a deposit down on a house. But until that happens, I'm not playing a wedding. Totally. And I just felt like our listeners might be like, should we get Adam and Dan to come and do a podcast at our wedding? Which I'd be far more open to, by the way. That'd be funny as fuck. But yeah.
We love the pod. Can you come and do a podcast record at the wedding? No. Because no one needs to shout nonce at a wedding.
No, but I would do that, you know.
I fucking... I've done it again. I've just given him another... Oh,
you gave him... By the way, no context, have a word. If they're as genius as they appear to be from the cutouts, from you talking about the fact that you were upset with what he did, you gave him about 4 or 5 new coats. At one point you went, Etta said, can I get in the front seat? And then I said, I fuck kids. You literally said that before. It's
fine. I've unfollowed it. I'll never watch it again. I literally can't. I don't want to lose my marriage with my wife.
It will be like my life's goal now to get you to watch every single one.